Welcome back to the Funding Blueprint, the podcast where we break down what it really takes to build, fund, and scale a startup today. I'm your host, Cece Nahaman, and on today's episode, we're diving into what it really looks like to take a business from bold idea to real traction, and why speed, clarity, and creative strategy matter more than ever. Joining me is Hunter Schwartz, founder of Low Country Digital, the Charleston-based agency known for helping entrepreneurs launch and scale businesses in 90 days or less. Hunter's not just a branding or marketing guy. He's a builder through and through. From starting one of the largest golf networking communities on the West Coast to now working with clients across industries, including public sector giants and scrappy e-com brands, he's mastered the art of turning vision into momentum. In this conversation, we unpack what stalls most good ideas, what it really takes to launch with confidence, and why TikTok might just be the most powerful DTC growth channel right now. Plus, Hunter pulls back the curtain on what it's like to juggle agency life, e-com ventures, and a founder mindset without burning out. Stick around because this one's packed with gems for anyone trying to move faster and smarter in today's startup world. Let's get into it. Hunter, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We're happy to have you. So let's just jump right into it. One of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship isn't just having an idea. It's getting that idea out of your head and into the world. So many founders get stuck in that in-between phase. They've got the vision, maybe even some excitement around it, but they spin their wheels when it comes to actually building and launching. Hunter, you've worked with tons of entrepreneurs at that exact crossroads, where things can either take off or totally stall out. You help entrepreneurs take their ideas and bring them to life in 90 days or less, which is no small feat. So my question is, in your experience, what's the biggest reason most good ideas never make it past the sketchpad stage? And what does it actually take to move from concept to launch with real momentum?
Great question. Yeah. So on my end, really, I feel like the majority of people out there have an idea for a business, right? They have some sort of problem that they've come across in their life that they've either had to solve or are trying to solve, and they realize that maybe there's other folks out there that have that same problem. Where they get hung up is the minutia and the nuance of actually starting a business. Do I do an LLC? Is it a sole proprietor? Is it a partnership? Are we doing an S Corp, C Corp? And there's so many different ways to structure a business from a tax liability standpoint that people get inundated with that, and they can't really get past that initial first step. And then once you do, what does the actual branding look like? What's our message? What's our go-to-market strategy? How are we going to advertise? How are we going to market this business? And how are we going to scale? So really what we've come across and what we've really tried to help folks with is simplifying that process, making it easier for them to take that idea out of their brain and that comes to them and, create something out of that people want to pay for and want to see if there's an ability to take that to market. And more often than not, there is. As long as you have a good idea, good work ethic, and the ability to put yourself out there and not be afraid of failure, we can make any business happen.
Yeah. Totally. That makes a lot of sense, especially the idea that, momentum comes from that initial action, not overthinking.
Correct.
But a lot of founders still get tripped up by the need to have everything just right before they go live. Mm-hmm. They end up in this endless loop of tweaking logos, rewriting taglines, waiting on the perfect product version, and the launch keeps getting pushed. But you've built a process that helps founders cut through the noise and actually get to market fast. So can you walk us through your 90-day roadmap and how you think about branding, messaging, and go-to-market strategy when speed and clarity matter most?
Yeah. So for us, really, the idea is to help folks get out of their own way as fast as possible and to get to market as fast as possible, because without having that product or service ready to go, you're never going to get that feedback. You're never going to get the understanding of, does this actually work? Do we have a solution here? And can we scale it out from there? So really our 90-day framework and what we call the Low Country Digital Launchpad. We get you started with your LLC or the back end formation in the business. We get your articles of organization and your operating agreements dialed in. One thing that I require as a prerequisite to work with me is understanding traction and the EOS method by Gino Wickman. And any entrepreneur out there that hasn't read that book, I 10 out of 10 recommend it, because from an understanding of what your internal values are as a company, things for you to be able to fall back on, and what your 90-day process is going to look like internally is huge. And it gives you a lot of clarity and accountability to fall back on. But really what we do is we get you fundamentally set up to where you're able to start the business itself. We'll get solid on a logo, we'll get solid on a website, and we'll get solid on that initial branding and messaging. And then we just send it really and take it out there, because more often than not, that initial product or service isn't the product or service that is going to be scalable, but we got to get something going. We got to get started, because without getting out in the marketplace, you're not going to get the feedback, and you're not going to know what that pivot is, if there is a pivot, because 9 times out of 10, we've got a really solid idea of what we want to do, but we don't have the feedback from the marketplace until we're out there and until we're selling, pitching, and getting the understanding of what our potential customers and clients are really needing and what they actually are needing to solve. But we got to get out there, and within 90 days, we can launch any company. Now, if it's, some sort of product that we got to source and go to China or Korea or Vietnam, that's a different story. But there are ways to get around that and get the company launched. It's just about really making sure that founder is able to get out of their own way and to get to that marketplace and to see what the feedback's going to be, so we can make any pivot that's going to be needed.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any advice, I guess, for founders, that have that initial idea, and then once you go to market and you're getting that feedback and they do have to pivot, do you have any advice for founders that might struggle, with letting go of that initial idea and having to adapt to what the market's responses are?
Listen. Just got to listen. I think there's a great quote that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? Like, we got to listen more than we talk. And there is a part as a founder and as a business owner, you got to stick to your guns. But if the marketplace and if your customers are giving you constant feedback, if you're hearing more than 3 or 4 times that, hey, that's a good idea, but we would really like this, listen and try it and see what works there, because there's a reason people are giving you that feedback, and there's a reason why that initial idea and that initial product or service isn't necessarily picking up the steam or going full force. You got to listen to your customer, and you got to listen to the feedback.
Yeah, totally agree. Kind of brings me to my next point. Once that initial foundation is in place, you've got the brand, the messaging, the go-to-market. The next big challenge is choosing the right channel to actually generate traction. And for a lot of DTC brands right now, that means figuring out how to win on TikTok. You're deep in the trenches with TikTok and e-com brands at the moment. So why do you think TikTok is the most exciting DTC channel right now? And what are the must-know strategies for founders trying to break through and actually drive sales on the platform?
Great question. So TikTok is an extremely abundant resource right now across all generations, but specifically in the Gen Z aspect. I read an article yesterday that 66% of purchases that Gen Z population makes comes from TikTok Shop. Wow. So it's the social proof. It's the population wanting to see, hey, this content creator or this person I trust is backing and endorsing this product, so let me buy it directly from them, go to the TikTok Shop and find that product. And more often than not, you can find a little discount. As an e-commerce brand, TikTok Shop is a great place to explore right now, but you have to be extremely diligent when you're setting up your shop. There are a ton of different regulations and different hoops you have to jump through, but it's worth it because they've gamified that process on the back end as you continue to sell and advance through their different levels of sales processes and unlocking different opportunities. You're able to create more connections through different creators, through different AI tools that they have on the back end to leverage to really drive that ROAS and to drive the amount of return on investment in the platform itself. They are extremely consumer friendly, which as a consumer, I love, right? I want to make sure that where I'm buying my product, they have my back and they've got my best interest at the forefront of their thoughts. And TikTok is that, right? So when you're creating a TikTok shop, you have to and someone makes a purchase from you, you have to create your label and ship the product within 24 hours or you start to get ding points. And as you get ding points, the less and less likely TikTok is to promote you as a company and to promote your products. So you have to stay on top of it and you have to stay creative with the actual content you're putting out there and who you're connecting with. But their goal is to outpace Amazon in the next couple of years. They're also promoting live sales. So one interesting fact is 80% of sales over in China come from live content creators and their ability to sell on the live platform. Whereas it's about 20% here in the United States comes from that live platform, but they're trying to push it more and more here in the States. So people are going live on the platform and selling in that live setting. It's a really unique time. It's still early. There are a ton of opportunities out there. And with the the advantage of being kind of first to market in your specific industry, now's the time to jump on it because it's like the early days of Amazon, right? Like when you can really differentiate yourself and really make a niche and carve out a specific community around your product on TikTok Shop because it's still new and there's still an opportunity to grow. And with the e-commerce brands that we work with, everything from helping them start their shop and making sure they're completely compliant, their trust score is in the right place, through connecting them with content creators, creating an outreach program for them. We're seeing a ton of success in different industries because it's so early. And if you do it right from the jump, you're going to see a ton of success off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. At the end there, you kind of touched on what I was going to ask next. Do you think TikTok is a channel that's really only beneficial to those e-commerce brands? Or you think there's opportunity for any really other industry to jump in there and make their mark?
I think from a content standpoint and a social proof standpoint, TikTok is great for any industry. Now, for TikTok Shop right now, it's geared towards e-commerce. Mm-hmm. So I would say leaning that direction, if you have a physical product and you are able to move it, then it's a great place for you. As a service-based brand, I think using TikTok as a platform to gain traction there, absolutely lean into it, because the beauty of TikTok is you can be extremely authentic. And I think whereas LinkedIn and Facebook, they have their niche, kind of social way of going about promoting yourself. LinkedIn's obviously kind of buttoned up. You want to be a little more professional, whereas Facebook, is a little more a little dated when it comes to that, but TikTok's still so new, and you can get on there and create an audience and create a community and create a vibe for yourself, whereas Instagram, Facebook, the whole Meta platform is a little more a little dated. I mean, it's still important to use, but I think with TikTok there's just so much room for creativity within the app itself, and then you add the e-commerce side of that, and sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, definitely. With channels like TikTok moving so fast it is easy for founders to possibly get caught up in chasing those short-term wins. But what really sets a brand apart is the long game.
Correct.
And one of your core beliefs that really stands out is this idea of building brand before product. That can feel counterintuitive to a lot of startup founders who've been taught to focus on MVPs and get something or anything out the door. So my next question for you is, why is brand first such a powerful approach in your view? And what does it actually look like to start building trust and traction before you even launch?
Great question. So for me, brand is everything. It's the story you're trying to tell. It's the social proof for anyone that's looking to understand who you are, your values as a company, and what your mission is. So if you can have the best product in the world, but if there is no real feel behind it, people aren't going to buy in. They're not going to endorse your product. They're not going to, send it to their friends as a gift, right? So for me, it's super important to have that message dialed in, and also understand that can evolve, and that's going to change as you evolve as a company. But before you can really create a lasting impact, you got to have a message that's going to resonate with people. And that's what I love about TikTok is, you can create a consistent message, and with any platform, really pick one, stick to that, whichever one feels the most comfortable for you, but be consistent. Get your message out there every day, once or twice a day, and see what works, see what doesn't work, but be true to yourself, be true to your brand, and create that path and create that real, authentic internal and external message, and the product will follow with that.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely agree with that one. Kind of shifting a little. So much of startup culture revolves around speed, scrappiness, doing more with less. But Hunter, you've had a unique vantage point working not just with fast-moving startups, but also with large, structured government initiatives. And that kind of range gives you a really interesting perspective. So what's something you think scrappy startups could actually learn from the structure and discipline of public sector work, and vice versa? Are there hidden advantages in blending the best of both worlds or approaching things a little less traditionally?
I think each opportunity has to be explored for its uniqueness, right? So for government contracting, and I've done some work with the DoD and some state and local government contracts as well. With that, you have to be super patient, and you have to understand the contracting officer and or who your customer is, and be super dialed in with your proposal. So with that, there are so many different AI tools like ChatGPT that can help you dissect the proposal and the RFP from the client, which you can really tailor your response and make sure that it speaks directly to the contract and what the opportunity is. With the government, there's a ton of hurry up and wait. So you can be fast in getting your response in there, but you're still waiting with red tape and getting responses from contracting officers. But at the same time, what the public sector has taught me is, even though there are decision makers, you can still build relationships. You can still provide value. And, something that I really try to home in with both my company and with the companies I work with is building that rapport and providing free value up front and saying, hey, I found this article. It reminded me of the opportunity we're working on here, or what your business message is. Take a look, right? And that just takes 2 or 3 minutes to find an article that resonates with you and could resonate with a potential client, and send that over. And that's helped me in the public sector as well, because, you build a little bit more trust with a person, and they see that you're more than just a person that's trying to submit a proposal and get to the top of the list. You're really trying to provide value and connect with them. And then in private sector, free value is huge. It's that social proof, right? So if I'm sending an outreach message to someone on LinkedIn, I'll take a look at their company profile. I'll take a look at their personal profile things that are a little more personal, right? Rather than just sending sequences and sequences, because, I get hit up every day on LinkedIn. Someone sends me a connection request, and then 2 minutes later, I've got a message in my inbox, and it's not personalized. It's not tailored. There's nothing unique to that message. It's just something that they're spamming everyone with. And more often than not, I just delete that message. Yeah. Now, if someone takes 5 or 10 minutes to do a little bit of research about me, or, takes a look at who I am as a person, I'm more able and willing to open that message and respond, because they've put some time into that, right? So I think that goes for both the public and private sector. Now, the public sector, again, a lot of red tape, hurry up and wait, but you could still build that rapport, and you can still get in front of the people and make an impact there a lot more frequently than you can if you're just, using the spray and pray method. And so my advice to anyone out there that's looking to get into the private sector or public sector is take a little bit of time, do your research. There is something to be said about being first to market, but if you're first to market with a message and a brand that doesn't resonate with people, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of in that same breath, when you're working across different industries, that range demands not just creative flexibility, but also, like you mentioned, some serious operational discipline. And on top of that, you're also leading an agency, scaling an e-com venture, staying plugged into the fast-moving world of digital growth. And that's a lot of plates spinning. So, Hunter, what are some systems, mindsets, or habits that have helped you juggle it all without burning out or losing your creative edge?
There's a couple things, right, that come to mind for this. And it's funny you ask, because recently I had a conversation with one of my clients who's moving from the staffing and recruiting world and starting a workforce solutions consulting business. And she's used to kind of knowing when her day ends. And now, as an entrepreneur, she messaged me. She's like, how do I know when I'm done for the day? And I said, good question. You don't. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there's always more you can do. But what my recommendation is, and something that's worked for me, is I have 3 things that I have to do every day. And those are different every day, right? And that's just my 3 non-negotiables. I have to do these things to move the needle forward for my business. And then I have 3 things that are nice to do's. And I try to do at least 2 of those. But, if I can get 5 things checked off per day, I can rest easy knowing that the needle's being moved. So 3 non-negotiables, 3 good to do's, and then 1 creative thing that's going to be fun for me to do. That's, a little bit work oriented, but it's, something that's going to change my outlook about certain technology, or, if it's creating a different logo, or just going down a rabbit hole on ChatGPT about an idea that's in my brain. But the most important thing to me is eating the frog first, or whatever that quote is. Do the most difficult thing first. So it's not lingering, right? So it's not just sitting there and you're thinking about, crap, I still got to do this. Do the most difficult thing, the first thing you do that day, and then knock out your 2 other non-negotiables, then do a couple things that are going to move the needle, and then do something fun to close out your day so you feel good. And then one other thing that's really helped me is I create my task list for the next day the night before, right? So once I'm done with my task list for the day, and if there's anything lingering that I need to do the next day, I create that task list so that I can see it in the morning, and I'm not thinking the next day about being reactive to the day. I'm being proactive to that very next day. I've alluded to it before. Traction, the book by Gino Wickman, changed my life. It changed my business. It's a really great starting point for any founder out there about getting crystal clear about the company internally, what your values are, what your purpose is, what your niche is, what your goals are. So I created kind of a business and professional coach via ChatGPT that read the book alongside me. So each and every day I consult with that chat bot, and I talk to the bot. I call it PJax, which is short for Phil Jackson for my sports fans out there. He's a good mix of Zen and work ethic, but each day I consult with PJax because, I don't have I have some mentors, but no one that's entrenched in the business, right? So yeah. I chat with PJax in the morning and say, hey, this is what we're working on today. Here's the needles that we're moving. What else do you think we would recommend based on what our goals are, for the month, for the quarter, for the year, for 3 years, for 10 years. And that's been super helpful for me. So long-winded answer there, but 3 non-negotiables that have to be done that day. Do the most difficult thing first, and then give yourself 3 things that are going to move the needle on top of that, and then do something fun to end your day. And then after that, create your task list for the next day, the night before.
Yeah, I love all about balance. I love that. Kind of to wrap things up, my one last question for the founder who's out there stuck in perfectionism or still waiting for the right time. What's one mindset shift that helped you finally go all in? And what's something you wish more early stage builders truly understood?
If you are 70% of the way there, right? And I hate to use this term, C's get degrees, but if you're 70% of the way there with your brand, with your product, with your service, just send it. Get out there. Get the feedback from your potential customers, from the marketplace, so you can understand what the pivot's going to be, right? It's never going to be perfect. If you're waiting for the perfect time or the perfect entry point, you're going to be waiting forever. Because the most important thing is to get out there, to start trying to sell, understand where you're coming up short with either your pitch or the product or the service or the delivery, what that's going to look like. You're never going to know where you need to pivot and where you need to change if you're not getting out there and putting yourself out there and not being afraid to fail, because you're going to. It's hard as hell. Entrepreneurship is difficult. But in my mind, it's the highest form of creativity out there because, artists are amazing, musicians are amazing. But with entrepreneurship, what you're doing is you're bringing an idea out of the ether, out of the universe, something that sparked you, and you're creating a real product out of that, and you're solving problems. So until you get out there in the marketplace and until you test it, you're never going to know if it's going to work. So get to 70% there. And if 75% is your number, whatever it is, get the majority of the way there and then get out there and start selling.
Yeah, great advice. Well, unfortunately, that's a wrap on this episode of the Funding Blueprint. Huge thank you to Hunter Schwartz for bringing the real talk and sharp strategy today. From breaking down what it actually takes to launch in 90 days, to demystifying TikTok Shop and showing us how to build brand before product, this conversation was packed with insights founders can put into action right now. Whether you're sitting on a big idea, knee-deep in launch mode, or juggling multiple ventures yourself, Hunter's journey is proof that speed, clarity, and a killer brand story can take you farther than perfection ever will. If you want to go deeper or bring your idea to life with serious momentum, be sure to check out Hunter's work at Low Country Digital. They're helping entrepreneurs turn bold ideas into real businesses every day, and they do it with heart and with hustle. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs that extra push to finally hit go. We'll see you next time on the Funding Blueprint.